We got up to the Mishnah on 137a, all right? And that's where we're going to start this morning. Hopefully Erwin or anyone else. Mendy Klein has been joining as well. Sometimes Rebecca. All right, so just to introduce the Mishnah and then they can pick up to help us follow it. We now are presented with a situation of where one has two Brit Milah to perform, okay, and are scheduled for different times, one on a, let's say, Friday, one on a Sunday, and the person doing the Brit Milah, okay, forgets which is supposed to be when, and therefore he makes a mistake and does one of them on Shabbat. Okay? So either it means the one that was really due Friday, okay, was delayed a day, or the one that was really due Sunday was done a day early. And therefore the Gemara is going to go into giving us a number of brightot that give some approach. Okay? Morning. Okay. Madnitin on 137a. Misha hayulo shnei tinokot. If an individual has two infants that they are expected to perform circumcision on, echad lamul achar Shabbat hashabbat, one to perform circumcision after Shabbat, let's say Sunday, echad lamul b'Shabbat, and in this case one is actually due to have its circumcision on Shabbat. So of course, the one that's due after, you cannot, is not Doche Shabbat. The one who is due on Shabbat would be Doche Shabbat. V'shachach, and he forgot. Umal et shel achar haShabbat b'Shabbat. And he circumcised the one that was due on Sunday on Shabbos, chayav. He is considered obligated. Chayav implying that has to bring a chatat. Echad, another situation. Echad lamul be'erev Shabbat, one to be circumcised Friday afternoon, v'echad lamul b'Shabbat, and one to be circumcised on Shabbat, v'shachach, and he forgot. And what happened? Umal et shel erev Shabbat b'Shabbat, and in this case, he circumcised the one who was due on Friday on Shabbos. Now, at this point, most of the texts of the Mishnayot put a comma here, okay? I'm not sure if that's really the best punctuation, okay? And you're going to see why in a moment. Rabbi Eliezer mechayev chatat. Rabbi Eliezer says he's obligated to bring a chatas. The Rabbi Yoshua poter. And Rabbi Yoshua says he's exempt. Now, if we were to put a comma before Rabbi Eliezer, it may seem that the machloket between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua is only dealing with the end, the seifa part of the Mishnah. If that's the case, then it would seem that as we get into the Gemara, there's an issue. If we don't put a comma there, but we put, let's say, a period, okay, then it would appear that it's not clear whether Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua, that the source of their machloket is the earlier part of the Mishnah, the Resha, or the later part of the Mishnah, the Seifa. Okay? And we'll see why I introduce that here as we continue now in the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Rav Huna matne chayav. A generation later, Rav Huna says one would be obligated to bring the chatas. Rav Yehuda matne patur. Rav Yehuda would say he's exempt. Rav Huna matne chayav. Rav Huna is going to teach that he is obligated. Why? The Tanya Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Because a braita that was taught by Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. So this is the first braita that's brought in this situation. We're going to call it Rabbi Shimon's Breita. Lo nichlaku Rabbi Elazar v'Rabbi Yoshua, that they were not in disagreement, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yoshua. Al mi shahayalo shnei tinakot, on someone who had the two infants, echad lamul b'Shabbat, ve'echad lamul achar Shabbat, one to circumcise on Shabbat and one after Shabbat. So this is the parallel to the Resha of our Mishnah, okay? V'shachach, and he forgot. Umal et shel achar haShabbat b'Shabbat, and he circumcised the one that was supposed to be done on Sunday on Shabbos, shehu chayav, that he is obligated to bring a chatas. So this is Rav Huna's explanation why he should be chayav. Okay, but that al ma nechlaku, on what did they argue? Al mi shahayalo shtei tinakot, on one who had the two infants, echad lamul be'erev Shabbat, ve'echad lamul b'Shabbat, one to circumcise on Friday and one on Shabbos. In other words, the seifa. He's arguing that it's only the seifa of our Mishnah that they disagree on. V'shachach umalet shel erev Shabbat b'Shabbat, and he circumcised the one that was for Friday afternoon on Shabbos. She'Rabbi Eliezer mechayev chatat, that Rabbi Eliezer says he's obligated to bring a chatas. But Rabbi Yoshua poter, and Rabbi Yoshua exempts. Ushnehem lo lamduha ela me'avodat kochavim, and the two of them did not learn it except for on the basis of idol worship. Namely, in other words, they're going to make a parallel between the issue of idol worship and this issue of the circumcision. Rabbi Eliezer savar ka'avodat kochavim. Rabbi Eliezer says it is similar to a situation of idol worship. Ma avodat kochavim amar rachmana lo ta'avid. The same way in regards to idol worship, the Torah tells us one should not worship. V'chi avid mechayev, and if one does worship, one is obligated, in other words, to bring a sin offering. Hachanami lo shana. Here too, there's no difference. The Rabbi Yehoshua. So this is all now still Rav Huna's explanation. And as far as Rabbi Yehoshua goes, hatam de lav mitzvah. There, in regards to avodah kochavim, idol worship, there is no mitzvah. Hacha mitzvah. But here, with regard to Brit Milah, there is still the mitzvah. And so the mitzvah, even though he did it on the wrong day, since he was doing a mitzvah, it should exempt him from having to bring a chatas. Now, we continue. Rav Yehuda, matne patur. And Rav Yehuda teaches he's patur. Tanya. Why? Because Rav Yehuda now is also going to cite a breita to support his view. Amar Rabbi Meir, says Rabbi Meir in a breita. Lo nichlaku Rabbi Elazar v'Rabbi Yehoshua al mi shahayalo shtei tinakot, echad lamul be'erev Shabbat ve'echad lamul b'Shabbat. Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda is saying, no, the machloket is based on the breita of Rabbi Meir. The machloket is only on the seifa of our Mishnah. Okay? V'shachach, and he forgot. Umalet shel erev Shabbat b'Shabbat shehu patur, and he circumcised the one that was due on Friday on Shabbat, and he is exempt. Amar nechlaku, on what did they argue? Al mi shahayulo shtei tinakot, on one who had the two infants. Echad lamul achar haShabbat, one to circumcise on Sunday, ve'echad lamul b'Shabbat, and one to circumcise on Shabbat. V'shachach, and he forgot. Umal et shel achar haShabbat b'Shabbat, and he circumcised the one for Sunday on Shabbos. Sherebbi Elazar mechayev chatat, that Rabbi Elazar says he is obligated to bring a chatas. Rabbi Yoshua poter, and Rabbi Yoshua exempts. And again, the Braita continues, Ushnehem lo lamduha ela me'avodat kochavim, and the two of them only learned it, so to speak, based on the model of idol worship. Rabbi Elazar savar ke'avodat kochavim. Rabbi Elazar thought it was similar to idol worship. Ma avodat kochavim, amar rachmana lo ta'avid. The same way in idol worship, the Torah says one is not to worship it. V'chi avid mechayev, and if one worships it, one is obligated to bring chatas. Hachanami lo shana. Here too, therefore, there's no difference. For Rabbi Yoshua hatam, and Rabbi Yoshua there says in that situation, lo tarid mitzvah. He did not make an effort. Okay, there was no effort in regards to a mitzvah for avodah zara, right? Avodat kochavim. Hacha tarid mitzvah. Here, there was an effort to perform the mitzvah. Now, Gemara continues. Tani Rabbi Chia. So now Rabbi Chia takes the view against Rav Huna. Omer haya Rabbi Meir, that one, according to Rabbi Meir's Braita, lo nichlaku Rabbi Elazar for Rabbi Yoshua, that there was no disagreement between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yoshua, Ami shahayalo shtei tinokot, on a situation where there were two children, echad lamul be'erev Shabbat, ve'echad lamul b'Shabbat, one to circumcise on the eve of Shabbos and the other on Shabbat. In other words, the Reisha of our Mishnah, v'shachach, and forgot. Umalet shel erev Shabbat b'Shabbat, and he circumcised the one for Friday on Shabbat, shehu chayav, that he is obligated. Al ma nechlaku, argues Rabbi Chia. What did they argue on? Al mi shahayalo shtei tinakot, on one who had the two infants, echad lamul echar haShabbat, one to circumcise after Shabbat, ve'echad lamul b'Shabbat, and one to circumcise on Shabbat. So Rav Chia is saying there at Machloket again was on the Reisha of our Mishnah. V'shachach, and he forgot. Umal shel echar haShabbat b'Shabbat, and forgetting, he circumcised the one who was supposed to be on Sunday on Shabbat. She'Rabbi Elazar mechayev chatat, that Rabbi Elazar says he's obligated to bring a chatas. The Rabbi Yehoshua poter, and Rabbi Yoshua exempts. Hashta, Rabbi Yehoshua. Here now is the situation, approach of Rabbi Yoshua. Seifa, delo ka'avid mitzvah. That in the end, okay, his rationale, okay, is that the end of our Mishnah, no mitzvah was done. Poter, and therefore he's exempt. Reisha, the first part of our Mishnah, deka avid mitzvah chayav, that there where he did the mitzvah, but in the wrong time, are we going to say he's obligated? Amrei be Rabbi Yanai, and they say in the Academy of Rabbi Yanai, Reisha kigon shekidem umal shel Shabbat be'erev Shabbat, that in the first part of our Mishnah, what were they talking about? Where he went ahead and circumcised a situation where he circumcised the one that was due to have the circumcision on Shabbat, on Erev Shabbat, Delo Nitnad Shabbat Litchot, right? That concern that whether or not there would be time to allow it to be done on Shabbat to supersede it. Seifa. On the other hand, the second part of our Mishnah, Nitna Shabbat Lidachot, that there it's possible to argue in that situation that Shabbat should supersede it. Amar le Rav Ashi le Rav Kahana. And in this situation, Rav Ashi says to Rav Kahana, Reisha Nami Nitna Shabbat Lidachot. No, says Rav Ashi, the Reisha, the beginning part of our Mishnah, okay, where one was supposed to be on Shabbat and one, okay, one was supposed to be on Sunday and the other was supposed to be on Shabbat. That situation also could be argued that the Mila supersedes the Shabbat. Legabe Tinakot Da'alma, because that applies to infants in general. Lahai Gavra Miha Lo It Yahiv. Okay? But for this particular person, okay, who performed in the inappropriate time, was not overridden, and therefore that's why he would be chayav. Okay?
Rabbi?
Right. Yes.
The Milah itself, though, is completed, right?
The Milah itself is completed, but the question is, if it was not scheduled, in other words, if the 8th day wasn't actually Shabbat, then the Milah, then the question is, then it should not have superseded Shabbat, and he would be chayav v'chatas.
Yes.
Okay?
But the mile, but the little boy is okay.
We hope. Okay, we had a story already yesterday that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Okay, our new Mishnah is going to continue with the example of Milah. And this Mishnah, I think, is particularly interesting because, again, if we're saying that only when the Milah is, I'll say, scheduled, in other words, the 8th day is actually Shabbat, that is what is Doche Shabbat. But if there are questions when coming back to an earlier Mishnah where there's a suffix, okay, or in other words, when the child was born and what is going to be the 8th day, okay, then it does not supersede Shabbat and it has to be put off, okay? And that's what this next Mishnah is going to address. Matnitin, our new Mishnah tells us, Katan nimul lishmona, okay? An infant child, usually I'm going to say, is circumcised on the 8th day, Latisha, perhaps on the 9th day, La'asara, perhaps on the 10th day, Ula Echadasar, perhaps on an 11th day, Ula Yudbet, and perhaps on a 12th day. Lo Pachot, no less, Velo Yoter, and no more. Okay. Ha Ketzad, how is this possible? Kedarko Lishmona, when it's, I'm going to say, the normal situation, and the 8th day is Shabbat, then he's circumcised on the 8th day, which is Shabbat, and that's Doche Shabbat. Next scenario, Nolad lebein hashmashot. The child was born at twilight, and therefore we don't know suffix whether it was one day or the next day, right? And so what do? Nimul latesha. We put it off one day, and he's circumcised on the 9th day after his birth. Next situation, Bein hashmashot shel erev Shabbat. Okay, the child was born twilight Friday afternoon. Okay, so again, we've got almost a double suffix here. Was it one day? Was he Friday? Was it Shabbos? Okay, if he was born Shabbos, then he wouldn't have the bris till the following Sunday. So what happens? Nimula asara. The circumcision takes place on the 10th day after the birth. Another case, Yom Tov la'achar haShabbat. Okay, right? The child was born on Yom Tov, okay, after Shabbat. Okay, and so what happens? Nimul la'echad asar. He is circumcised then on the 11th day. In other words, what happens is the situation again extends itself. Shnei yamim shel Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so we have then the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Nimul l'shnei masar. In that situation, the child would be circumcised 12 days later. Okay, because again, remember it can't be done on the Yom Tov itself because of the suffix. Okay, let's go on. Katan. Okay, so the Gemara says a minor. Hacholeh, but a child who is ill. Ein mohalin oto ad sheyavri. We do not circumcise him until he is healthy. Okay, so for example, if you have a situation, even in contemporary times, where a child may be born premature, and let's say because of that has to go into an incubator for a while, then you still have to put off the circumcision, okay? And not do it on the 8th day. Gemara, Amar Shmuel, so Shmuel the following, Chalatzato Chama. Let's say this child was born with a fever, and Shmuel says, and now the fever broke, okay, it dissipated. Notnim lo kol shiv'a lahavroto. According to Shmuel, we give then however amount of time, okay? So take the fever to break, then we count 7 days, and then do the Brit Milah. Ibayla. So the sages ask the following: Mi ba'inin me'et la'et. When you say you have to count 7, are you talking about 8 la'et, 7 24-hour periods? Okay, in other words, from the time the fever broke. Yeah, Tashma, listen to the following Braita. Tatani Luda, that was taught by Luda, Yom Havra'ato Kiyom Holado, that the day of his becoming healthy is similar to the day of his birth. Ma ilav, isn't it not the following? Ma Yom Holado Lo Ba'inin Me'et Leid, isn't it such that the same way on the day of his birth, we do not require the timing be 24-hour periods, okay? Af yom havra'ato lo ba'inin me'et la'et. So likewise, from the day of his becoming healed or dissipating of the fever, we don't require 24-hour periods. Lo, no, says the Gemara. Adif yom havra'ato miyom holado. No, it's maybe preferred to say that the day of his becoming healed is more significant than the day of his birth. The ilu yom holado lo ba'inin me'et leid. That based on the day of his birth, we don't require 24-hour periods. Ve'ilu yom havra'ato, but in regards to the day of his becoming healthy, ba'inin me'ed le'ed, that we might require 24-hour periods. Okay. So that is the statement of that Mishnah but we don't see that it comes to a clear decision in the Gemara. Now, we get to the next new Mishnah, which is going to deal a little bit more with the details of the circumcision itself. I'm not sure how many of us have actually stood up close during a Brit Milah. Okay, today many Moalim, come a little bit before, prepare the organ, okay, so that it's ready, if you will, and then it makes it a little less time consuming, okay, at the actual circumcision, right? But our Mishnah is going to now deal with a situation that could very well have been not uncommon in the time of the Gemara. Okay, says our Mishnah, Eluhein tzitzin hame'akvin et hamila. These are the strands or shreds of skin that could be ma'akev, that they could, who hold back, in a sense, limit the viability or the validity of the circumcision. Okay, and now the Mishnah continues. Basar hachofeh et rov ha'atara. Any flesh that seems to cover over the top of the organ. Okay? Ve'eno, if that's the case, ve'eno ochel betruma. Then that person, if they happen to be a Kohen, cannot eat truma. Secondly, v'imahya ba'al basar, okay, and if the organ was very fleshy, or the person with the child was very fleshly, metakno mepnei maris ha'ayin. One may, I won't use the word repair it, adjust it, let's say, because of appearance sake. Let's go on. Gemara on 137b. Mal. Okay, if now a situation where the Moel performed the circumcision, velo para et hamila, and he did not uncover the flesh, ki'ilu lo mal. It's as if it was not, the infant was not circumcised. Gemara. Now our Gemara is going to go into more detail, okay, on some of these issues, and then add a new aspect. Amar Rabbi Avina, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, Amar Rab, in the authority of Rab. Basar hachofeh et rov govha shel atara. When they're talking about flesh that covers over, we're talking about the height of the organ, okay, covering the corona, the top of the organ. Okay? So now back to our Mishnah. V'im haya ba'al basar v'chulei. That if it was a very fleshy, okay. So what happens? Amar Shmuel, says Shmuel, Katan hamisubal babasar. You have an infant that may be overgrown, so to speak, with flesh. Okay? Ro'in oto calls man shemit kasher. Okay? We examine the circumcision when the infant has an erection. Okay? V'nir'eh mahul eino tzarich lemul. And if then it appears that it has been circumcised, and I'm going to say properly, one does not then need to further circumcise. Ve'im lav, and if not, tzarich lemul. One then does need to do further circumcision. The matnita Tana, and in a Mishnah it was taught by Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, who says, Katan hamisubal b'basar, an infant who is thick with flesh, so to speak. Ro'ino tol kol zman shemit kasher. We examine, we see it at a point when it has an erection. Ve'eno nir'eh mahu, and if it does not appear to be circumcised, right? Tzrich lemulo, then one has to do further circumcision. Ve'im lav, and if not, eno tzarich lemulo, one does not have to do further circumcision. My benayu, what's the difference, asks the Gemara, between this Mishnah of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel and our own Mishnah? Ika benayu nir'eh ve'eno nir'eh. The difference between them is between whether it's seen or not seen. Okay? That according to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, okay, it clearly has to be visible. According to our Mishnah, it may not necessarily be the case. Okay, going to the next part of our Mishnah. Mal velo para, if he circumcised but did not uncover the flesh. Tano Rabbanan, says the Braita. Braita now is actually going to not deal so much with the uncovering as to what the ritual procedure is at the circumcision. Hamal Omer, one who does the circumcising, says as follows: Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al hamila. Okay, that's the appropriate blessing. Avi haben Omer, then the father of the child says, Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hachniso b'vrito shel Avraham Avinu, to enter the child into the covenant of Abraham our father. Ha'omdim omrim, kashem shenichnas lebrit, kach yikanes l'Torah lechupa l'maasim tovim. Those gathered respond, right, by saying the same way he's entered the covenant, so may he enter Torah, chuppah, and good deeds. V'ham mevarech. Now, says the Gemara, and the one who says the second blessing. Okay. Now, in our case, okay, it isn't always a separate person, but we would associate it normally with the person, another person, okay, who may be given the honor to say the blessing that includes the naming of the child. Okay. So Hamivarech, the one who says this second blessing, says, Asher Kidesh Yedid Mi Beten, okay, one who sanctified the child from the womb, Chok B'Sa'aro, V'Sam B'Tza'av Chatam Ba'ot Brit Kodesh, Alken B'Scharzot, excuse me, El Chai Chelkenu, Tziva Lahatzil Yedidut Sha'arenu Mishachat Laman Brito Asher Sam B'Sarenu, Baruch Atah Hashem, Korei Tabrit. Okay, so that's the sanctified beloved one from the womb, set a statute in his flesh, his offspring he sealed with the sign of the covenant. As a reward for this, living God, you are our portion, who commands us to save the beloved of our flesh, okay, for the sake of thy covenant, which you set in our flesh, who makes, blessed Hashem, who makes the covenant. Okay, now, we go on to a slightly different example of circumcision now. Hamal et Gerim, one who circumcises converts. Omer says, Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvah v'tzivanu al hamila. Again, a bracha. V'hamavarech Omer, and the one who says the blessing says, Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lamu et hagerim, ulahatif mehem dam brit. Okay, to circumcise converts and to draw from them the blood of the covenant. She'ilmalei dam brit lo nitkaimu shamayim va'aretz. Were it not for the blood of the covenant, we would not have the existence of heaven and earth. Shneamar, im lo bariti yomam v'layla, chukot shamayim ba'eretz lo samti. That if not my covenant by day and by night, I had not appointed the ordinances of heaven and earth. Baruch atah Hashem, koreit habrit. Okay. Now, another example. Hamal et ha'avadim, one who circumcises servants. Okay. Remember, a servant, okay, who is a Canaanite servant, needed to be circumcised, okay, and therefore afterwards, also perhaps even tefillah, but if not tefillah, at least circumcision, making him chayav in some of the mitzvot, like a woman. Omer asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al hamila, okay, v'hamavarech omer, and the one who says the second blessing continues, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'mulet ha'avadim, okay, to circumcise servants, ulahatif mehem dam brit, and to draw from them the dam brit, she'ilmalei dam brit chukot shamayim ba'aretz lo nitkaimu, shene'amar im lo bariti yomam v'layla chukot shamayim ba'aretz lo samti. Again, citing the very same pasuk, right? Baruch atah Hashem koreit habrit, and therefore one who makes the brit. Okay, so we now see that we finished Perek Rabbi Eliezer Demila. Okay, now, having discussed that in some detail, our new Mishnah, our new Perek, excuse me, goes back to our, so to speak, old topics. We said that the Masechet was going to discuss a series of various kinds of malachot and what was permitted and what was not, right? And one of the things we saw, okay, that made Yom Tov different from Shabbat was ochel nefesh, the preparation of food. And so therefore, it would seem that a valid question is, to what degree, okay, is food preparation on Shabbat permissible? Are there some aspects that are acceptable and are some that are not? Okay. This, by the way, is one of the more complicated, at least I always felt, one of the more complicated areas of Hilchos Shabbos, by the way. Okay. Now, we're going to start with what would seem to be a rather strange example, and that is the following. Okay, what about using an item, a utensil, in order to prepare food for Shabbat, and it requires, let's say, sifting, or it requires straining, or it requires putting let's say, we'll take a piece of cheesecloth, I'm going to use that as an example, over a container, putting the foodstuffs, let's say, on top of the cheesecloth, and the cheesecloth would then allow, in our case, let's say grapes, the juice from the grapes to go through, and it would just retain the sediment on the top of the cheesecloth. Okay. Now, given that picture, it was not uncommon in times of Chazal that this was a means of preparing, let's say, fresh wine on Shabbat. Okay. And that wine, of course, would then be mixed with water to be able to be drunk as part of the meal. And as we now go into our Mishnah, okay, we'll see what the Mishnah and then the Gemara tries to clarify. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, according to Rabbi Eliezer, Tolin et hamishmeret b'yom tov. Now remember, Rabbi Eliezer was the one who held that preparations, okay, for something could be done on Shabbat. We saw that with regards to Mila, that he said you could burn the wood in order to create a fire to melt, to make a metal object to be able to perform, by which to perform the circumcision if you don't have the knife handy. Okay? So here we get the point that Rabbi Eliezer is saying that one can hang a kind of strainer or a kind of utensil on Yom Tov, v'notnin, okay, and put things in it, l'tluya, b'Shabbat, okay, so that it will strain, and therefore the liquid will come out, and you can have that liquid on Shabbat. The Chachamim omrim, and the sages say, ein tolin et hamishmeret b'yom tov, that it's not permitted to put this utensil, a strainer of some kind, on Yom Tov. Ve'ein notnin l'tluya b'Shabbat, and it's not permitted to certainly put things in it on Shabbat. Aval notnin l'tluya b'Yom Tov. But the rabbis say it is permissible, okay, to put, if the strainer is already up there before Yom Tov, to put items, grapes, let's say, in it, all right? So it will go through the cheesecloth and then come through, okay, into the container, and then from the container you could have the wine, okay? Now, why is this an issue? Because it would appear that by spreading the cheesecloth over the utensil acts as a base, and the cheesecloth acts as a kind of canopy. And therefore, in that situation, is that creating an example of boneh, an example of building? Okay. Now, let's go into our Gemara. Hashta, here, Rabbi Eliezer, Osofe Ohel Ari Lo Mosofinen. Here, in regards to Rabbi Eliezer, it appears that he's saying that we cannot add a temporary tent or covering, all right? That is not what we're permitted to do in the first place. But then are we permitted to do it originally, initially? Maihi, what's this going on here, says the Gemara. Okay, Ditnan. Why? Because we have a Mishnah that taught elsewhere, and we actually learned this, Pakak HaChalon, when we're talking about the peg that closes a window shutter for a skylight. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Bisman shekashor v'talui, at the time when it's tied to the window shutter and hanging down, pokakinbo, one is able to close, right, the window shutter of the skylight. V'im lav, and if not, ein pokakinbo, we're not able to close the shutter of the skylight. V'chachamim omrim, but the sages say, bein kach uvein kach pokakinbo, regardless of whether it's tied to the shutter or not, we can close it. V'amar Rabba bar Barchana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says, Hakol modin she'ein osin ohel ar'i b'tchila b'yom tov. Everybody is in agreement that we don't make a temporary canvas cover, okay, initially on Yom Tov, Ve'ein tzarich lomar b'Shabbat, and we certainly don't have to say on Shabbat. Lo nichlaku ela lahosif. They only argue when it comes to adding to an existing tent or covering. Rabbi Eliezer Omer ein mosifin b'Yom Tov. That Rabbi Eliezer says one cannot add in Yom Tov. Ve'ein tzarich lomar b'Shabbat, and we certainly don't have to say on Shabbos. V'chachamim omrim mosifin b'Shabbat, and the sages say we can add on Shabbat. Ve'ein tzrichin lomar b'Yom Tov, and we certainly don't have to say it if that's the case to do it on Yom Tov. Rabbi Eliezer savar la ke Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Eliezer holds like Rabbi Yehuda, the Tanya, who teaches in a Braita, ein ben Yom Tov l'Shabbat ela ochel nefesh bilvad, that there is no difference between Yom Tov and Shabbat except for preparation of foodstuffs. Rabbi Yehuda matir af machshirei ochel nefesh. Rabbi Yehuda permits even the preparation of foodstuffs. Amar, I might say then, Dishma'ina leila Rabbi Yehuda, that what I learned here from Rabbi Yehuda, b'machshirin, in regards to preparations, she'i afshar la'asotan me'erev Yom Tov, that these may only be in regard to those preparations that are not possible to be done on the eve of Yom Tov. B'machshirin she'efshar la'asotan me'erev Yom Tov, but those preparations that are capable of being done before the start of Yom Tov, Mishamatle, did we learn from him that he would permit even those on Yom Tov? The Rabbi Eliezer Adifa made the Rabbi Yehuda, that Rabbi Eliezer's view is more preferred, in other words, more permissive than, in that case, than Rabbi Yehuda's. But the sages say, they were asked the following in this situation. Tala mai, what about if he suspends this utensil? Right? What is the situation? Amar Rav Yosef, says Rav Yosef, Tala chayav chatat, that if he suspends it, okay, in order to use it then with some sort of covering to produce the wine in the utensil, he is obligated to bring a chatas. Amar le Abai, says Abai ela me'ata. If that's the case, says Abai, Tala kuza besichta. What if he simply hung a jug on a peg? Hachanami de mechaye. Do we say, excuse me, here too, he's also going to be subject to being chayiv? And we'll just roll over a tiny bit. Ela amar Abaye midarabananhi. But rather Abaye says that is prohibited based on rabbinic law. Shelo ya'aseh kederech shehu oseh b'chol. In other words, to teach us that he shouldn't do it the same way that he does it on weekdays. Okay? And so therefore, okay, we're going to stop right there for today, okay, because I think the next section gets a little too complicated and our time is close, all right? So what we're going to see as we pick up on this Gemara tomorrow, that what is kinds of preparations, not just food stuff, but other things are prohibited on Shabbat or not. But the primary focus is going to be on foodstuffs. Okay, everybody, have a good day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Take care and
Thank
stay
you.
well, everybody.
Yeah. Bye now.
Thank you. Thank you.